I've seen so many cases where the founder's like, I'm not willing to share the number of shares outstanding. I'm like, run for the hills if you run into a situation like that, because
That's crazy.
this
Yeah.
founder is not willing to be transparent. And if you're not willing to be transparent, that signals to me that you have something to hide. In mind,
Choose the company, not the title. I have to push her back a little bit on this because nobody in my network is turning down opportunities due to title differences. They're not getting the offer from OpenAI because they're not getting the offer. It goes back to like when you're offered a seat on the rocket ship, you take it, you don't ask what seat. Why does this keep getting said as a phrase? My friends don't join rocket ships because they don't get offers at rocket ships. They want to get into Anthropic and OpenAI and Cursor. It's just 1% of people get through that. And that's a whole other convo as to like why, right? Like,
right.
But
there's a hack these days where it's like, you just go join the company that's already been validated, whether it's been validated by the VCs, meaning like raised a massive Series B, all the risk is kind of washed out, or a lot more of the risk is washed out. They have product market fit. If you're a seller at a PLG company, and I saw a sorry in advance, not sorry, I should say, but like, it's not that much different than like being a cashier in and out, right? Like the line's out the door, like everybody's coming to you and saying, I want to buy this product. You're doing one call closes all day.
Thanks for tuning in to the VibeScaling podcast. My name is Chris Balestris, partner at VibeScaling. We're a go-to-market advisory, recruiting, investing, and media firm, helping seed through Series D companies grow. VibeScaling podcast is an intersection of go-to-market, AI, and startup topics where we interview the top go-to-market leaders at AI and SaaS companies. Hope you enjoy it. My name is Chris Balestris. This is Cailen Desa, partners at VibeScaling. The VibeScaling podcast is what you hear weekly with top sales leaders at AI natives and startups. But we wanted to hop on this just to, go through maybe some tweets that we're texting throughout the week of things that we agree and don't agree with, and wanted to just keep the content engine going a little bit. So I guess we'll kick it off with some intros. Cailen, maybe if you want to just tell the audience who you are, your background. I know I was super impressed with it before you became my mentor a few years back. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about you?
Yeah. I don't do too many podcasts, so I guess I probably got to reintroduce
Getting
myself.
the cobwebs off. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Shake them off. Background, grew up in the Bay Area, been around tech most of my life. Dad was an engineer, had an older brother who's an engineer. That's where I got the itch to be like, oh, like what are these computer things? And when I was 3 or 4 years old, used to build computers when I was young, and I was a huge gamer. That was the catalyst that got me into like software. And so out of college, I ended up joining. I got my first taste of early stage startups over the last, I've been in tech maybe, 19 years now. I had a run of like 17 years of just being an early operator at a lot of really, really early stage companies. I'm talking less than 10, 15 employees ish. So I was first go-to-market hire at Box, which is now public, worth 4 or 5 billion. I was first go-to-market hire at Dropbox, which is now worth, has fluctuated between 8 and 12 billion. First go-to-market hire an exec at a company called Front, which is still private, worth 1.7 billion, backed by Sequoia. And then I was at a few other companies, Revenue Cat, first go-to-market hire, first exec, first go-to-market exec at TrueWork, who got acquired by Checker. And then most recently, I was a COO at a Gen AI company trying to solve tax and accounting called Neotax. And then today, I'm CEO founder of a brand very well, Chris, VibeScaling. We used to be under another name, but we had to rebrand earlier this year. I know you and I went back and forth a ton on this.
We'll talk about the name, and we can just talk about that right now. I wanted it to be something boring. I think I was like, hey, let's do slope partners or alpha advisors. And you're like, dude, that stuff just doesn't hit. And then I was wrong, man. Like VibeScaling I love the name now. I did not like it at first, and it really wasn't my call because you're the one running the show here, but I was wrong, and it's an awesome name. So
that's funny. It's funny. I had a conversation with a founder earlier this week, a very successful founder of a very successful company that's worth billions, and he was like, "So like, what's the real name?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Like, what's the real name? Like, VibeScaling can't be the real name. That's not the real name, right?" I'm like, "No, that's the real name." He goes, "Why'd you pick that?" And I'm like, and I was kind of, he just thought it was kind of corny, or he just didn't think it was serious of a brand. And then I explained to him the backstory, and then he's like, "Oh, that actually makes sense."
Dudes, as they say on TVPN, the dude's been living under a data center for the last year. If you haven't heard vibe coding, we're going off of the name that has been synonymous with this AI boom. So
Totally. And I mean, the thing that people don't realize is like when everyone's searching for vibe coding or vibe anything, I think Meta launched Vibes as a standalone app. It's like we're just getting a lot of just free awareness when people fat finger something and end up typing vibes and they get vibe scaling as a type ahead, right? So we get a
yes,
lot of just organic search from that. So that was actually one of the inspirations, but it's also like, you know, we're early to a lot of domains are available. And the fact that we got vibescaling.ai was awesome. So I don't know. I think it's a good name, and I think also we don't want to be we don't want to be like one of these kind of firms that sound like it's a bunch of suits behind in a bunch of what is it cubicles and stuff like that, right? We want to be like kind of playful and fun. We work with early stage companies. We're not we're having fun while we're helping build the plane, So I don't know.
totally. I think it's a great name, and I've done a
Yeah.
180 on it, and now I actually take credit for it in rooms that you're not in. I actually say it was my idea, so I hope
Yeah, well, I mean,
you're
you
cool with
contribute.
that.
Yeah,
So
you contribute a lot to the brand and the firm. I mean, as you should. But yeah, in which way started we started the consulting thing about 10 years ago as we
what
kind
was
of
the old?
moonlight.
Tell the audience what the old name was and why you stopped doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, old name was T2D3, which for folks that are not indoctrinated into like VC talk, it stands for triple triple double double double. And if you're kind of paying attention these days, and Chris, you think about this a lot when I introduce you to companies that are not like are either T2D3 or slower than T2D3, you get a little bit like squirmish in your seat. But yeah, no, it's for the old trajectory for a lot of companies on the track to go IPO was you triple triple double 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 your revenue. So you go from 1 to 3, 3 to 9, 9 to 18, 18 to 36, 36 to 72, and then you're on the track. You're going to get escape velocity. The problem is with AI native businesses and just the proliferation of just like companies building AI first companies. That's like not that impressive. That's not even that impressive growth anymore. So
Right?
it
Yeah.
was about time we had to refresh the brand. Otherwise, like, why would you want to work with us if we're T2, D3? It's like, hey guys, like we can
You
help
guys are
you. Like, yeah,
thinking too small. You guys gotta right. You're like not ambitious
yeah.
enough of an agency. So
No, not at all. So, I guess the way I think about it, you have to reinvent yourself. Like what? Every couple of years, you have to reinvent yourself. You have to take a hard look at the brand. The good news is we didn't have a huge following at the time. Like we had a very niche like following of, I was a solopreneur. I was running the firm by myself for a bit. I was a one man show, and now that we're a team of five, and we're kind of have our hands in a lot of jars, I think it's about time that we had to like, kind of widen the aperture. I feel like from a brand and positioning perspective. So. Um,
totally. Yeah.
yeah. But the good news is
Yeah.
more people than less, or more like a vast majority of people I tell the brand to. I think I've only had two people think it wasn't a serious brand. Everybody else like I love the name. So
I
I'm
agree.
not optimizing for the outliers.
Yeah, and part of what we're trying to do is not be as so buttoned up as I sit here in a button down with a vest. That's actually going opposite to what I'm about to say now. But we want to be a little bit more real. We want to be, a little bit less maybe polished at times when it comes to like some of our takes of how we think about things. And we'll show that today on our screen share and all that. But yeah, no, it's been awesome building VibeScaling with you this last year. And for a little bit of background for those folks in the audience who don't know me, my name is Chris Balestris, based here in the New York area. Most of my background is in enterprise sales, whether at Salesforce, and then had a couple of stints at Series B to D startups, as well as fractional founding sales hire, and really just nerd out on all things go to market. In my last job, launched GTM right around when we got to like 500 subs. I mean, you've been a mentor of mine for a couple years. I was the fourth AE in my last company, and was looking for that sort of founding sales role eventually in this AI native world. And as we launched GTMBA, you saw what I was writing about with Clay and some of these other AI tools. And you're like, hey, man, why don't we just start something? And yeah, kind of took it on a whim, and it's been amazing. I think like now the best way that I describe vibe scaling now is seed through Series C, roughly AI natives and fast growing SaaS startups. We help them along that journey, whether it's advisory, so that's fractional sales, it's RevOps, it's FinOps, it's go to market engineering, or whether it's recruiting. So that's usually Series A, Series B, Series C companies helping hire AEs, SDRs, BDRs, and sales leaders. Or it's our media brand now, which encompasses of our events that we throw in SF in New York, And we have a blog with a couple thousand subscribers of all sales folks. And we're launching not only this podcast, but the main VibeScaling podcast, which we have studios in SF in New York and interviewing some of the top sales leaders in the industry. So, and on top of that, it's in the process of raising a fund as well. And I'm really excited about that. I know you have a very impressive angel portfolio, Cailen, and it's something that I admire, that you've been able to do that and earn the right to be able to get in some of these companies. I've always looked at myself as somebody who wanted to get into VC, wanted to get on the investing side, but only when I felt like I earned it. I felt like in business school, there was too many people who were like, I want to go be a VC. And to me, I was like, if you've never operated before, what the heck are you going to tell a founder? And I'm starting to see it now that, like, listen, there are definitely great investors that have only been investors or have a banking background. But for me, I knew that it was like, I wanted to go in through this GTM route. So the fact that we're able to, for 2026, we have a lot of big plans for this is like super exciting. And I say this to you a lot, but today's Thanksgiving. That's why I'm dressed this way. But very thankful for all that, you've done with your brand and then also bringing me on. So,
dude, it's been an honor, man. And reciprocally, dude, it's just been, you've been a force multiplier for VibeScaling. I mean, like, I wish I found you 2-3 years earlier, because I think the nice thing is, like, you are kind of yin and yang. We're yin and yang, and we're obviously on opposite coasts. I'm in San Diego, you're in New York, but like, I just think like we come from different worlds. And it's just so cool to see like the holistic benefits you get from like having two very different perspectives. So it's been great. I think you've unlocked a lot of kind of opportunistic alpha in my mind that I'm not always thinking about. Like, if it was up to me, I'd be running a charity here. But I think you do a good job of making sure that we're thinking, we have good, kind of strong business sense in terms of like the bets we're making, stuff like that. It's just awesome to have a thought partner. And obviously I say that about everybody else who's part of VibeScaling too. So,
yeah.
So it's been
Oh,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been
Love
fun.
that. It
Many
has
more
been
years,
fun.
many more years to come.
100%, man.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
well, you just mentioned something there, different perspectives on things. I think what'll be interesting, like the way that I view this weekly thing is like, hey, we have a shared Notion doc. We're always texting each other of different tweets that we are like, just have thoughts on. And I was like, hey, we got to get this on video and audio. Now that I've gone through the 0 to 1 process with some of the other podcast stuff, I was like, hey, we got to jump on this, and makes for some really good content. So, I think like for the premise of these weekly, we're just going to start screen sharing tweets and different takes that we had see. And for those that are listening, if you guys ever find stuff that you think could be controversial and you want us to discuss it, I know that when I used to work as an employee, this was stuff that I always wanted to say, but didn't want to get fired, sort of thing. So happy to be, whether it's the people's prez or whatever you want to call it, to some of those things that, the LinkedIn lunatics, Reddit threads, instead of sending it there first, send it along our way. But yeah, I mean, let's hop into it. So Jen Abel's a, she's got decent Twitter following. We'll talk about her a little bit later in the episode. She was just on Lenny's newsletter. I thought this was awesome by her. And one, I love, Cailen, I don't know if like, what's your favorite sort of memes that are out there. The nitwit meme is one of my favorite, where it's like, I don't know, the way I see it is like with fitness influencers, it's like eat protein, lift weights, and then the middle is like, track sleep, eat, creatine, do blood tests every month. And I love the way that some of this gets pictured here. I love this because this growing GTM, everybody calling themselves GTM. It's almost like, how do I say I'm in sales without being in sales? Yeah. And I wrote an article on this. Actually, your boy, Alex Kramer, is the one who I tagged here. You guys are friendly, right? From what
we are.
Yeah. And I've
Alex
seen it. Yeah, great guy. But I love like this whole sort of, why are all the AI companies and cool new startups referring to their salespeople as simply GTM now? It feels pretentious. If you are salespeople and you like being a salesperson, come sell with us. Link in the comments. So I went on a 1,000-word essay on this in GTMBA. What's your take on it? Like, did you guys do this at Dropbox or at some of the other companies, or is this like a very new thing?
No, I mean, I'd say even at Dropbox too. Like, we didn't call it GTM. I can't even remember what we called it. But I think like people just like get the ick when they hear the word sales, and they don't want to be considered as a salesperson because, like, it just dates back decades and decades and generations about, it all ties back to the used car salesman analogy, that people are like, I don't want to feel like I'm not doing something strategic. And I think the common misconception is people think sales is not strategic. Like, you're just there, you're order taking, you're kind of doing something like a little bit more like slimy of a role or profession, which is just so not true when it comes. Like, I think the problem is we glorify the used car salesman persona, not like the tech salesperson persona. But the tech salesperson persona would not be that exciting and entertaining if it was in movies, for example, right? It's like a little more boring than the used car salesman.
It's also modern too, right? Like it's like
Yeah,
I feel like tech sales hasn't been an the used car salesman's been around a lot longer, so
totally,
it's baked into. And
totally.
I think that's like
I,
it's so true what you said, and it's
yeah,
the people who like who pioneered this actually with Stripe, which I have to give Stripe credit. Like they did hire very cerebral, smart reps. We'll get into the Stripe stuff. Actually, we have a tweet later that we can
yeah,
riff on a little bit, but um, yeah, I think that another thing too, what I'm seeing is like AI companies it's just a new way of selling. So they're like, hey, part of the job is sales, but part of it's just like a Swiss Army knife a little bit. And we're going to encompass that by saying GTM.
right.
And I like it. At the same time, though, I think Alex has a good point where it's like, if you were a salesperson and like being in sales, well, actually, a lot of people who went to Stripe selling because they hated their banking and consulting job. So they deep down do like the act of selling. It's almost like in some of these elite circles, it's still looked at as, not as prestigious of a role. And I'm
Totally.
happy that this is like going away a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, my general thoughts is like people just want to have a sexy title. Like, I remember, I'll never forget when I first got the offer at Box. I didn't know what account executive was, and I went home to my mom, and I'm like, "Hey, mom, I'm an executive." She's like, "What do you mean? Like, you're new grad?" I'm like, "No, I'm an executive." And then I'm like,
Yeah,
"Look, yeah,
an
like check out my
executive of
yeah,
accounts.
yeah,
Yeah,
check out my offer." And she's like, "Cailen, you're a salesperson."
right.
But yeah, it's a cool, like, people like to give sexy titles because it just makes you sound cooler. Yeah, I think it's a branding thing, but honestly, I agree with her. This meme here, it's like I think the problem is it's so confusing now because go to market also encompasses marketing, in my opinion, or historically has. And so, like, when you say GTM, like, you include marketing in that? Do you not? It's confusing for the average person. But it's no different than, I was thinking about data scientist. I don't know how you feel about that, but like
Mm,
a data scientist is really like a statistician, in my opinion. You're working with statistics. I mean, maybe it's like engineering meets statistics, but
right.
I mean, I don't know. It's like everyone always has some weird skewed title that they want to make it seem like they have a really sexy role. And so, I mean, I don't hate it, whatever. I'm not like losing hairs, even though I don't have many hairs to give. I'm not splitting hairs over this, but I get it. It's a fun conversation to have.
Yeah, totally, totally. All right, moving on to we have a lot of Jen in this, and
Yeah,
uh,
she was just on Lenny's pod, so I feel like there's a lot
she,
of good.
she was, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. This, so I really liked her last tweet. This is one that I want to disagree with a little bit. So she had said here, spend enough time in sales, and you realize it's seldom taught. Best sales folks have no idea how they do what they do. It's art. Now, this is a debate that I wrote about. Sales is more of an art than it is a science. Really, you hear this a lot in like what Harry Stebbings asked guests on 20VC: is sales an art, or more of an art, or more of a science? And you have kind of a mixed room here. I'll start by giving my opinion on it. I think it is very much a science, and this is also a little bit of bias on my end. I started my career as an accountant, very much a numbers person. I view sales as a linear, scientific sales process that the art or the steak dinner or the charisma or the how you make people feel is the cherry on top of the sundae that is sales. And what is the sundae? The sundae is what you're selling. Can it solve a problem? And what does that mean? It means can it increase revenue and decrease cost or reduce risk? Those are numbers to me. If you don't have that, if you can't outline that, you're not even going to be in the door. I don't care how nice or charismatic, or if you can cut the line at Keen's Steakhouse here in Manhattan, you're just not going to get through the door. I have bought products from people that I don't like because I am selfish and I want to solve my own problems. And listen, all things being equal, people are not going to work with you over the other rep that they like better. But when I see it, and this is why, Medic being this sort of compass in what you can use to really make sure your deal is real. It's a step. It's a process. Like, to me, it's process oriented. And then if you can get the science part and the art part down, you're an absolute weapon. But one is more important than the other, significantly, in my opinion. And I don't know, what's your take on this, of like sales being more of an art or a science?
Here's the way I look at it. I think it's a blend of both, in my opinion. I think if you're selling if you're selling like software, for example, or AI tools or whatever, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that don't involve selling, right? Like, you're looking at like user signals, or you're looking at user events to kind of see like what like behavior looks like. You're looking for like, kind of like any sort of like leading indicators. You're doing a lot of research up front. If you're selling a PLG product, you're looking at like all the like activation user events data. You're looking at 10Ks. You're scraping SEC filings. You're doing research on LinkedIn. A lot of the sale involves a lot of like research and data entry and tracking and conversations internally to see who knows who at a company before you even have the conversation. Which this is why sales cycles exist. There's weeks that go by where you're like, okay, now I finally landed this demo, and then the art piece comes into play, right? Because if they're in market, they're actually taking their evaluation seriously. They're looking at a few different vendors, and this is where a little bit of like, you have to like the sales rep you're working with, and you have to trust them. It's more about trust. And if we roll you out and you have downtime, like, who can I call, and who can I lean on when the shit hits the fan? Like, that matters a lot. And I think that all boils down to trust. But I also think there's the like, how do you position your product, which is all the art stuff, like the social engineering and social art of what you do. So I think it's a mix, honestly, of both. I don't think it's either or, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed that it is a mix of both. I think in my article I said it's like, I think I said it's like 70-30 or 80-20 or something like that. So totally agree with you. But it's just interesting to always hear that, people who are like, it's art. It's in this, I take this as she's saying it's like all art. The best salespeople absolutely know what they do and how to win. They pick the best products to sell, and they work with really smart people, and they let the rest, kind of the chips fall where they may. Like, the best people I've ever seen in sales know exactly what it is that they're doing to win or lose.
Totally.
So,
I agree.
um,
Yeah, I don't.
so
I think there's a lot of in tech sales in particular. There's a lot of science. It's definitely more science than art. But I don't know what it is. Is it split 60-40? Is it 70-30? I don't
that
know.
part, yeah,
Yeah.
that
Uh,
part is up for debate. But
it's up there.
but
It's
I
like
think it's
debate. It's like debating LeBron versus Jordan. Like, we're gonna debate this thing till the end of time, right? Nobody really has a true answer. It's
who
all.
in
Yeah.
that example, who do you even think's better?
I think Michael Jordan is the
Yeah,
goat.
I
Yeah,
think
in
that's
my
what a lot of
opinion.
people. Yeah, okay,
I mean,
interesting.
he's 6-0 in the finals with he's 6-0 in the undefeated in the finals with 2 3-peats. And I think he was out of the league he
Yeah,
retired.
he
And
stopped at like
yeah,
31 or 32. It was
yeah,
like something crazy like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
You
yeah,
can't refute that, unfortunately.
you can't. I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
Well, I'm a Knicks guy. Let's go Knicks this year. I think it's their year this year. But uh
I think all Knicks fans say that, but it's all good.
um all right, so this right here is an interesting one. This guy Jared Steele, who tweeted about his experience joining Giga. Uh let's see. Here was I don't have the post up in front of me right now, but he had posted something. Here we go. All right, time to spill the beans on Giga. Got hired in April to lead demand gen. Quit after the first day.
Oh,
I thought
damn.
this one went extremely viral. And Giga, for those that don't know, is like one of the big players. I don't know if they're as big as Sierra, Decagon, but in this like support software.
I think they're like a new entrant. Like, they just did a big launch, right? Like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, right? November 5th. So I saw some stuff out there where they raised $60 million seed, but I saw other tweets saying that it was like a mix of their seed and their A. So, but like, kind of insane if it was all a seed. But yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
I think I caught this. It
Yeah.
went pretty viral, right? I think.
That definitely did. And
Yeah.
what he was saying, the reason why I bring it up is because he was hired as the first GTM hire. I think it was like a component of demand gen and sales and all this. And
Is he sales or is he marketing?
yeah, right, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
that's why. Then now you can just encompass it all in
All right.
GTM. It's the
All
entire
right.
customer
GTM.
journey. So
Cool.
I'm sure Jared put GTM on his.
Yeah.
I'm
Probably.
sure though, yeah, like after one day, you're probably nuking that off the resume. But This got me thinking because we run a recruiting firm. We've
Yeah.
placed at a lot of these AI natives. We have a lot of top talent on our candidate side. The number one question is like, hey, how do you choose the right opportunity? And I actually wrote an article on this. I've written it twice. I wrote it a year ago and then updated it after we did the event with Pylon. And like going through this a little bit, I think the 80-20 of this is like you join a talent vortex and
Right.
you go somewhere that's clear signs of market pull. Now I'm sure that this guy Jared did that, but I think the best way to de-risk this as a go-to-market hire, and I'd love to just hear like what made Dropbox so great. It would to me it was like you guys had a bunch of inbound, and the people there went to like if you, not to be like elitist here, but if the people on the sales team all are going to like Stanford, I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. This is, and then you talk to them, they're nice people, they're like working really hard. You're like, these are people I want to be around. Of course, the definition of talent vortex is somewhat subjective,
Mm-hmm.
but clear signs of market pull. It's like, do they have inbound, and is there a path to me like actually hitting my number?
Right.
I don't know. What's your take on this? And like, what are some of the 80-20 you would look for of choosing an opportunity?
Yeah. I feel like for me, it's like a sixth sense now because I've gotten so much exposure over 17, 18 years. Not to
Yeah.
say I'm always right. I've been wrong. I've given some friends advice to not join a company and then the company blows up. So I'm not all, my hit rate's not, 100%. Uh, but I mean, I think like, again, I play the power law game. It's like I try to opine on some of these things and, hopefully more often than not, I'm right. I think you kind of hit a lot of the high level signals you want to see, which is like, I mean, I think the first thing you're looking at is you're just looking at like the traffic of the company. Yeah, go to SEMrush, go one of these tools, look at like, see like what traffic looks like in adoption. Again, we're talking about this is a science, right? Not an art. Where you're just doing a lot of deep research. You're going on Reddit to see what people are saying about this product. You're on Twitter to see what people say about this product. You start there, right? If people are organically like just tweeting about the product, it's a beloved product already. That people are going to waste a tweet to tweet about your product.
Mhm.
So I'm looking for something like Revenue Cat was a perfect example of that. They're doing really well. And I went on Twitter. I just saw tons of people tweeting about Revenue Cat. And if you ask the average person, even in tech, they don't know who didn't know who Revenue Cat was at the time. So that's like early signal. Even one of our VCs who invested in us from Index said, "Oh, dude, I did a bunch of research. I kept seeing these guys show up on Reddit." So like just things like that. There's a groundswell of awareness. That's number one. Same thing with Dropbox. If you went on Twitter back then, like people were tweeting about Dropbox and putting out Dropbox links to their like I don't know, like they're sharing like a doc on Dropbox. Same thing at Box too. You see a lot of people like just sharing a lot of content or files through Box. You can just kind of see like people are into the product. The other thing I'm doing more deeper research on. Yeah, let's look at LinkedIn. Let's look at the profiles of people. I'm not a Ivy Leaguer. Like I went to a state school. We can talk maybe a little bit later.
You and me both. I want that to be clear that was my parents didn't go to college, and my undergrad was a state school, so I can flex into this what you're about to say too.
Totally. And I forever, I still have this. I had imposter syndrome my whole life working at Box, where it's all USC, Berkeley, Skidmore grads, and at Dropbox it was all Course 6 MIT engineers. Every day I was like, oh shit, I'm going to be the dumbest guy in the room here, but that's fine. I was okay with that. Because that's how you learn the most, you extract the most learnings and just personal development. But yeah, I'd say, just not to get off topic here, I'd say yeah, it's like you're looking at, like I'm looking at like product penetration, product usage, evangelism, and I guess like I hate to use this word, but addiction to the product by users.
Mm.
Are they addicted? Are they logging in every day? Are they using it, etc.? So I'm just looking at like user engagement and how sticky your product is. Then I'm like obviously looking at the founding team. I'm looking at like the founders, where they come from. Did they do deep research? These days I care a lot more about academics, like how much did they do research? They work at like DeepMind, or did they work at like OpenAI? Like I'm looking at things where it's like, and they're on the research side. Like usually those folks are highly academic, and I think in this environment you kind of have to, if you're joining a tech company, if you're a GTM or salesperson, you're not the one building the product. You want to be selling the best product. Usually the best product are the ones where people have done a ton of, it's their life's work to do research in this
Right.
topical area. I'm looking at it but I'm looking at everybody to see like, oh man, are these folks kind of best in class? And there's some patterns you can look at, like, yeah, school or past companies they worked at and what they worked on. You can do some back channel with friends who know them and be like, hey, is this person a top 1%? So again, this is where you have to do a lot of deep research. And then a little bit of it is like, you got to spend a lot of time with the founders. For me, someone like me, I'm joining like less than 10, less than 15 employees. I'm usually reporting to the CEO. I spend a lot of time with the founders or founder. And the reason being is that like, I just want to see, can I coexist with this person? Can I work with this person? You
Yeah.
know me, I have like a no assholes rule. I have a no ego rule. I'm pretty good. I think my superpower my whole life is like psychoanalyzing people in the first 5-10 minutes. I can try kind of get a sense of like who you are as a person. And again, I know I'm saying that's easy for me to like be able to do that, but like I think the things I'm looking for is like, are they self-deprecating? Are they willing to be vulnerable? Do they take accountability? Do they admit that they don't know what they don't know? Are they willing to give you a lot of leash to experiment? Are they going to advocate for you in the, if you're an exec, are they going to advocate for you in the at the board meetings and in the boardroom? Versus like, most GTM leaders would know this. You're always the fall guy or fall girl, regardless of whatever you do. If you go from, I've talked to some friends where they went from zero to, yeah.
Cursor went from 0 to 500 million in 18 months, and this sales leader can't get us there. We need a new one to get us to that Cursor growth rate. It's their fault. Yeah.
We need someone who can. Yeah, we were hoping for 700 million, and we only got to 500 million.
Right.
Like, not good enough. I've seen that. I've heard that story 15-fold over, even over just the last 18 months. Right? It's a huge problem with revenue leadership in general. But yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head on all these things. But again, at the end of the day, it depends on what stage you're joining. If you're joining pre-seed, seed, Series A, it's going to be a little bit of a crapshoot. But these factors can de-risk you a lot. And then there's a little bit of art. Like, do you execute on the right stuff? Do you have the right product vision? Are you going
totally?
Are you going multi-product early? There's so many other factors that come into play, and it's not just a single person can affect that change. It has to be everybody collectively, and it all ties back to the founders. The founders are the head of the snake. They have to go and like essentially be a little bit of decision by committee, but a little bit of gut and belief on what they think they want to build.
Yeah.
But they have to be willing to listen to the market, but also have good foresight and vision for what they want to build.
But I mean, that's a big part of the risk, right? Like you started seed or A, and you could have this great product, but we're seeing it now, how competitive these markets are, and it's really hard. It's even harder now than it was in the SaaS era to see like, we're going to be the ones that win.
Now.
And
it's way harder.
And look at what's happening right now with PagerDuty. You tweeted about this. Like, you might have a company that crushes for 4 years, well past your vest, and then they don't end up selling. And then the market turns, and then they're unsellable. It's like this is happening to a lot of these zombie SaaS companies, unfortunately, with a lot of my friends who were at companies that almost IPO'd and didn't. And now it's like, well, private equities doesn't even want to buy them. And it's like there's just no exit op. And it's like tough.
Yeah. Well, what I will say is I still think PagerDuty has an exit op. I looked at their financials before I tweeted that. And I think it's still, obviously it's still valuable to a company. They still have like, I think they said they have 40% of the Forbes AI using their product. So they still have, the problem is their growth rate shrinking. Their NRRs dropped. I think I saw something in their 10K. Their NRR has dropped to 100%. Which is never good. It's dropped from like 130% to 100%.
Yeah.
So they're just churning probably business, I think. But yeah, I would say that like, kind of that aside, I think that like, you have to, actually the big like aha moment in the last couple of years is I'm asking to always look at the financials of the business. I want to know what the gross margins look like. I want to know what the CAC to LTV looks like. I want to know like what gross churn and net churn look like. I want to know what logo churn looks like. I want to look at the close loss reasons why you're losing deals in the CRM. Like, again, science, not art. I'm doing super deep research if I'm considering a company. The problem is most companies are not going to share that data with you. That's the problem.
Especially if it's competitive. I was going to push you back and say like, well, competitive round. And also, what if you were to get those financials and it's a company that's growing as fast as a company's ever grown before? You might still invest in that because you're that's actually
So you take what you can get, but again, sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. But I'm talking from the perspective of if you're thinking about joining a company as an employee, not as an angel investor, but as like if you're thinking about joining a company, you should push very hard to try and get as much information as you can about what's happening in the business. And here's what I tell a lot of my friends: if a company's not like, here's a basic thing that I see a lot: companies are not willing to share share the data around how many shares are outstanding. So when you're trying to calculate your offer,
why is that? I know the answer to this, but for those listening, why does that actually matter? To need to know that.
It pretty much tells you your percentage ownership in the company. There's some other additional things you need to be
because 20,000 shares could be good or it could be bad, right?
Correct.
If they only have issued 100,000 shares and you own 20% of the company by having 20,000 shares, which amazing. But if they've issued so many of those and that's number is so low, and then you can multiply that by what the 409A or the market value is, you can really see what this is worth at this current moment. Is that right? Why that
Totally.
matters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the problem is everyone thinks that, everyone operates under the mental model flaw that every company has the same amount of shares outstanding. So they're like, oh, 20,000 here is more than the 5,000 I have here. But if the other company only has 10,000 shares outstanding, I have 50% of the company, right? Whereas the other company has, they give me 20,000 shares that has, a billion shares outstanding. I have a very small piece of the pie. So people just, again, need to be really educated and informed about what you own. But more importantly, I've seen so many cases where the founder's like, I'm not willing to share the number of shares outstanding. I'm like, run for the hills if you run into a situation like that. Because
That's crazy.
this
Yeah.
founder is not willing to be transparent. And if you're not willing to be transparent, that signals to me that you have something to hide, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Interesting.
yeah.
Cool. All really good stuff. We'll hyperlink this article to the episode so you can check out just a little bit more of a deeper narrative of how to choose that right opportunity. This other one, now I want to pivot to, we can keep this one quick actually, Cailen, but I'm curious what tools you're using right now that have like 10x your productivity. Shout out to the deal director. I really like him on Twitter. He talks about some of these like infra companies and how it relates to enterprise sales and does these deep dive narratives in a really well done way. But one that he had said here is like tech sales pref stack. Really what he was going through is just like, how are you using the different models for different use cases? So this was done before the Gemini launch. So maybe this changes a little bit, but ChatGPT for deep account research, Codex, coding agent, Grok, sentiment analysis, Claude, editing and brainstorming, Midjourney for art, Gemini for image editing and data enrichment. And then I wrote an article that I need to revamp this a little bit. 17 tools to make you more productive and go to market.
Kind of crazy that if you revamp it every like 6 months now, but probably really every 2 months, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. It's well, some have stayed in that. And I'll highlight a few of those. I think Claude for writing is so freaking good. Like Claude for whether it's like, hey, help me edit my email or help me go from 0 to 1 on an email, help me get to a response. And you can put a Claude project that puts in your past emails of how you typically write. I put my blog articles in there. I told, whether it was ChatGPT or Claude, hey, go through how I write and articulate that in a one pager. And then I put that one pager into Claude project. And then I save that down. So when I write with Claude, they know kind of how I write, whether it's emails or LinkedIn posts and stuff.
Yeah.
Another tool that I've been loving lately is Whisperflow. Now I've been using Whisperflow for 6 months now, but it's just one that I want to highlight again. Hitting a hotkey and then being able to speak into Claude or your LLM of choice, and also just helping it write your email sometimes. It's just a game changer. We speak 4 times faster than we write. So it's a no-brainer. I'm trying to think what else I've been using, but like those are the things that come to mind. Like what are the few tools?
Well, you're a big Clay guy, right?
Oh, well, of course, like Clay. Yeah. Shout out to our friends at Clay. Clay's incredible. I mean, like I use Clay for my personal life. When my wife and I were looking for houses, I'm a New Jersey guy right now. This is my office and my New Jersey house. But I scraped a bunch of houses on like the New Jersey public, whatever. I put it in Clay, cleaned it up, and then used an API. Yeah, I used an API to send that data out to a handwritten notary, whatever, handwriting letter service, and it wrote me 283 letters to all that. All that was done by Clay because I literally
did you have to write a letter because it's a competitive market?
Yes, when the areas that we were looking for had low inventory, so because of that.
I didn't realize that that's still going on, but I didn't realize in New Jersey that's going on. I remember people used to do that, I don't know, in 2020, 2021, where there was low supply, high demand. I didn't realize that's still going on right now.
Dude, the housing market right now is still kind of effed. I keep saying it, cooked as the kids say. Absolutely cooked. So
I love that use case. Yeah.
So Clay is like it. It's just so I'll stop at those 3. I'm curious what you love using.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like honestly, I'm not like as forward thinking as other people in terms of like I don't even have time to test new tools. As you know, we're working like we're 997 in over here. So,
996, baby.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't really
Dude,
have
it's
too much
Thanksgiving.
time.
We're grinding on Thanksgiving right now.
I
Just
know,
ripping some podcast
I know. And
podcast
the
epies.
only reason is we have less meetings today, but we still got meetings. At least our early stage founders who are working on Thanksgiving.
And our families have left us
yeah.
because we work too much. So we actually have no family to go home to. We're going to be
Totally.
eating together on Zoom later.
I know,
I know. Get some DoorDash and just anyway.
Totally. Yeah. No, so my favorite, I kind of actually heavily use, obviously I've been texting you about Gemini. I'm a big fan of Gemini since the last week. I've been heavily stress testing it. It's replaced on my iPhone home screen, like the main not bottom nav. I replaced ChatGPT.
Oh, interesting.
Gemini. And the reason is I wanted to live out of it, and I just naturally behaviorally I'm always clicking when I'm searching. I don't search on Google anymore. I just go straight to Gemini. But hey, benefits to Google, they build Gemini. And I don't know, I just like it has a lot more breadth and in terms of sources that I can search. I ask, a lot of things. One of my passions is like analyzing what's happening in the stock market and specifically tech stocks and trying to figure out like what's the next stock I'm going to buy or whatever. But I always want to do some deep research on like what are the financials of this business and what's going on. That's why the only reason I knew about the PagerDuty thing, I think they dropped like 25% on the market yesterday. So it's like, oh, like what? Like I didn't see the earnings call, so I just had Gemini summarize the earnings call for me, and it's like, oh shit, their growth rate dropped to 4%. Like that's kind of insane. And I'm like, and then show me that data in relative to all other SaaS companies. How does this rank across all these SaaS companies? And now it's dropped to like the bottom 5 or 6 companies in terms of growth rate. Which is so like that just tells me. And then I looked at the revenue multiple of those companies. I'm like, whoa, these guys are trading at like 1.2x next 12 month. And PagerDuty, even after the drop, is still trading at 1.8x. Still room to drop. I'm not going to buy this yet. I'm going to wait. So I heavily like using it for stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I also use it for the exact same use case you do, which is, if I have writer's block and I want to just have a basic template of something I want to write based on a topic, I'll feed, Claude or ChatGPT, or even now, I'm now starting to dog food Gemini for this, which is like, hey, here's my, you're a world-class writer, blah, 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 stroke the ego of the LLM. And then I then throw in a bunch of examples of my writing style. And then I have it iterate after prompting, iterate its way through a basic template that I like, at least stylistically. And then I go and like human in the loop it, where I start then editing everything to kind of add my own flair and add my own personalization, stuff like that. So yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that. Obviously a big fan of Clay. And then, I wouldn't be a good advisor if I'm not dog fooding my own products. So full disclaimer, I have a stake in many of these companies that I'm about to mention, but I get the chance to like use some of the more cutting edge tools that are coming. So I'm a big fan of this product called Nerve. It's usenerve.com. They're essentially building a Glean-like product, but it can take action on your behalf. And so, for example, like one of the things I've been working on with the founder is like we built out a whole a suite of use cases for sales. It's usenerve.com. One of the coolest products. And you can essentially have it write PRDs for you. You can have it write all your performance reviews for you. It hooks into all your, if you look at the connectors, check it out. If you look at the connectors, it hooks into like all the tools you use. And then you can like, I can summarize Slack channels. If I'm like out of the office for a week, I can have it like write tickets in linear. It's kind of like reminds me, it's like Glean, but it can take it has a lot more proactive action capabilities. And so one of the things I love doing is I love having it like search across my G Suite and stuff like that, and essentially draft an email for me. It can do pipeline reviews. So anyway, I don't want to pump it too much.
Interesting.
Yeah. One of my favorite.
Pump the book, baby. Let's go.
Love that tool. I'm a big fan of Centralize. You know this already. Use centralize.com for building org charts for portfolio companies, or if a founder's like, okay, we're trying to break into Ford or Procter and Gamble, let's like build up the org chart. It builds the org chart for me. You can show me who I know at that company. I can use it to see in my LinkedIn network who are my warm interests. I can do it all from like a single pane of glass. Big fan of that. I like Gamma for presentation, like PowerPoint stuff. Obviously, they had a big round recently. Big fan of Gamma and the Gamma team. Those are stuff. I'm not doing too much art stuff these days. But
with Gemini, Nano Banana Pro.
Totally,
dude. Have you seen you just put in a photo with a celebrity and then yourself, and it's like, hey, do a selfie of us at the airport. It's crazy How
I
good
did.
of
I did
did
it with a random athlete I love. I'm like, put this guy in a Lamborghini with two monkeys on in the trunk, and it generated it pretty quick. I don't know about you, but with ChatGPT, image generation takes forever.
it does. It's good for cartoons and like for
Yeah,
thumbnails that we do for the blog, but I
yeah,
agree that it takes a while. And then when you need to edit it, it's not, we're not there yet with like, what is the Claude, but for images where it just works sort of thing. Um, but all right, that's good. Good to know. And there's some tools there that I'll definitely check out. I didn't know that about Nerve.
yeah.
But moving on to this, we have a couple more things because we have about like, let's say 10 or 15 minutes left. Let's pull up Maggie. So Maggie had a post. And for those that don't know, Maggie is on the go-to-market leadership team at OpenAI. Has honestly had a pretty impressive background. She was early at Slack, early at Webflow, and then has been at OpenAI for quite a bit. She had posted something about a talk she gave at Berkeley. And then she said this a couple times, and I wanted to get on this to just debate this a little bit. She had said one piece of advice, or 3 lessons I wish somebody had told me early on as it relates to joining GTM at early stage. Choose the company, not the title. I have to push her back a little bit on this because nobody in my network is turning down opportunities due to title differences. They're not getting the offer from OpenAI is because they're not getting the offer. It's not
That's right.
because they get the offer and then OpenAI says we're going to have you come in as a manager or director, and that person says I'm a VP and I'm not. At the point in which you're getting an offer from OpenAI, you're a smart person, you're great at sales, you probably have great EQ. I know the cultures at those companies and on the go-to-market side, and it's very high Q individuals, EQ and IQ. And I just know those people aren't going to be debating that. So I don't get it of her saying like, choose the company, not the title. Like, who is doing that? And then I actually wrote a post on this. It goes back to like, when you're offered a seat on the rocket ship, you take it, you don't ask what seat. Why does this keep getting said as a phrase?
Yeah,
My friends don't join rocket ships because they don't get offers at rocket ships. They want to get into Anthropic and OpenAI and Cursor. It's just 1% of people get through that. And that's a whole other
right.
convo as to like why, right?
Uh,
Like, but
yeah.
dude, what's your take on this? Because like, I just don't get the whole concept of when you're offered a seat, like no shit, like where nobody is doing this. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more of how you see it.
Yeah, you know that. I don't know if you know that phrase. I think it came from like Sheryl
Sheryl
Sandberg or something like that.
Sandberg, yeah, and
I
she's another
Google.
one that's like who in
Yeah.
her network was saying no to Facebook. Like,
Right, right.
come
I mean, I
on.
think it's a little bit of a skewed perspective, honestly. Here's what I think. That originated from during the days when working at a tech startup wasn't a really popular destination. Everyone was in banking or consulting,
Mm,
or any, and tech was like kind of a fringe career. Like tech startups was a fringe career
right.
track, and so it's like you had to sell people on like, hey, join this thing. It's going to be a multi-billion-dollar company. Now in this case, multi-trillion-dollar company. You had to convince people to come work at these companies. It wasn't that it was obvious where it's like, oh man, I can make a bunch of money by joining a tech startup when it goes IPO. Like it just wasn't a thing. It kind of really started to become less of a thing in mid 2010s. I'd say 2015, 2016, when you started to see like all, WhatsApp getting bought for 19 billion and Instagram getting bought for $1 billion. People were like, oh man, like in 4 years,
I think
joining
it
a
was
company.
Google. I mean
Well,
you're
It was Google too, but it was still
yeah.
even Google existed when I joined Box in late 2007 or whatever. It's still like Google was obvious, but like for you still had to convince people. Like my friend got a job at Meta. Back then Facebook as like the first, I don't know, 200 employees. And she got a job through, they had to use an agency to find someone to come fill this job at Facebook. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
And like literally won the lotto. She went to, and they didn't even tell her who the company was who had posted the role. They just interviewed you for this, kind of mysterious company, and that company ended up being Facebook. And I think she did really, really well. But the point is, like, I think times have changed now, and it's kind of dead. It's obvious. It's like, oh, you join a tech startup, and in 4 years after your full vest, if you join the right company, you can do very well financially, right? And so, like, I think what she's actually trying to say here, I'm not going to disagree with this, and I think she's just trying to say, like, if you're don't choose based on the company potential, not just based on the title. So for example, I've been in a situation where I got offered a C-suite role and I got offered a VP role, and the VP or the director role, and the director role was at a company I believed in more than the company that was giving me the C-suite role. And I've made this, and like, I've seen many people make this mistake. They choose the C-suite role because it's like, dude, I'm a CEO or I'm a CRO or I'm a COO, versus choosing the opportunity that actually ends up being the better company. Because I always talk about this, like, if you're choosing between two companies and someone gives you 5% of the company in equity and another company gives you 50 basis points, 0.5%, and one exits for 500 million, the other one has to like, other one goes insolvent, for example. Your 5% and your 5% is essentially now worth zero, right? Whereas the other one's worth something. So I think that's what she's trying to say here. I do agree with. So my broader thought here is that there's a hack these days where it's like you just go join the company that's already been validated, whether it's been validated by the VCs, meaning like raised a massive Series B, all the risk is kind of washed out, or a lot more of the risk is washed out. They have product market fit. Like these days, it's so, it's one of those obvious. I put a tweet out about this. I think you saw this. Like it's an obvious game these days. Just go join the super hot Series B company if you can get an offer. And if you're
Cailen, this is a perfect segue. So I actually want you to pause this. Right before we do that, Maggie would love to have you on the VibeScaling podcast to talk about this live, but also just other things that you've posted in your career, and it's been an impressive one. Moving to this though, Cailen, you had said it's almost like you knew what was next here. Let's read this tweet because you commented on this. There's a person who joined Stripe at 250 million ARR. I asked Perplexity. I don't even really know why I asked Perplexity specifically. I just thought maybe it would tell me in real time what year this was. I think it was like 2015, 2016. So Stripe 2015, 2016, and wrote it to 5 billion ARR and never faced adversity during the way. And I can barely describe how much softer they are than the person who did 5 to 100 mil at a startup and had to choke a MF to death for every dollar on the way. So let's now resume what you were just about to say and how you've seen this play out.
Yeah. So like, I say this all the time, and this may
easy mode, as you say.
Yeah, this may ruffle a little bit of feathers, but like, I like to joke around like I could, kind of wake up from a nap and close revenue if I joined a $250 million ARR startup and hit quota. Whereas, me, most of the companies I've joined have less than $1 million ARR, no product market fit. Like a vast majority of them have. And I think I uniquely am credible on this topic because I've worked at, I don't know.
You've seen both.
I was at Dropbox, and Dropbox had insane PLG, and it was so obvious. And they were one of the companies that had already raised a Series A by the time I got there, but they already had insane PLG. And I'm not going to say that. I think I would like to believe that I impacted the trajectory by, I think like the big contribution for me is a lot of the first 15 hires I made are all now VPs and CROs at a bunch of companies. If you look at the talent vortex you talked about earlier of people at a company, I heavily contributed to that because like, I have a very high bar when it comes to talent. Hence why we have a high bar at VibeScaling for our talent placement stuff. And we only refer very few amount of people. But yeah, I just think it's like total easy mode to join a company that has like crazy revenue already, because you don't have to solve the product market fit problem. Like you don't have to go and experiment with like outbound campaigns or, beg your network and your VCs to make intros to customers because you have like 5 logos, right? And you only have 8 months of runway. And it's just total easy mode.
Here,
and then if you have PLG, I say this all the time. If you're a seller at a PLG company, and I saw a sorry in advance, sorry, not sorry, I should say, but like, it's not that much different than like being a cashier in and out, right? Like the line's out the door, like everybody's coming in saying, I want to buy this product. You're doing one call closes all day. It's not as strategic. I've actually talked to some people who work at some of the names, that are PLG companies that are hot, that have gone from 0 to 500 million. And a lot of them like, dude, I've regressed as a salesperson.
Yeah, well, let me jump in on that last comment because I have a couple of friends that work at one of those. I won't name any, but they have said my sales skills are an atrophy, and this is like picking up money off the floor. And then I just got coffee about a month ago with somebody who works at one of those companies as well, and said I don't even know why they like I'm not even doing sales here. It's just they already know of us, they're already buying us, and sometimes it feels kind of weird, and it's it's funny because those are the people who actually on paper right now. It doesn't seem like a fair world because it's not like that happens and you make less. Paradoxically, it's those roles that you end up making the most amount a lot of times. So that's why a lot of small amount of roles for the large amount of talent that is trying to get into these, and then the market dictates, whether where you go in that ecosystem a little bit.
Totally. And honestly, it all depends on what game you're playing, right? The way I look at the world, man, and in life, in life in general, is like, you know, whether I make, $1 billion or $1 million, I just care about when I'm on my deathbed, like, did I feel challenged? And did I work on stuff where I'm like super proud of, or like this product or company might have not existed in the world had I not joined as like the first go-to-market. That's what drives me, right? Less about money, more about that. When I was early in my career, I cared a lot about money. These days, I don't care about it as much. But the point is, yeah, I definitely think if you get an offer at a company that's just been validated by all the top VCs and they have clear product market fit and they have insane traction, and you're picking up the phone and it's just you're just on 50 demos all day and you're not doing anything to even do any pipeline generation yourself, it's why would you say no to that? It's probably likely you're going to have a really, really good exit. And I think it works for a lot of people, just different strokes, right? So
Totally. I just thought, I know this is one that we were texting about this past week. Last thing,
yeah.
and then it's the same thing. I mean, we can briefly, this Matt Turk one always got me. Because I think he said this dead serious. If you're in your 20s in tech right now, a couple years at OpenAI, Anthropic, or say a top 100 AI startup will give you 10x the career juice of any MBA or graduate degree and a lot less debt. And then he added, yes, hard to get, but those companies are higher. So he edited this. This used to not be here, where it says, yes, harder to bet. Because I said, like, yeah, no shit, dude. Like, of course, those are the ones you want to get into. Everybody wants to, but they can't get into them because it's hard. And it's good. Like, once you eventually get into one of those, you're appreciative that, like,
Yeah.
it's hard to get into. But anyway, I just
I'm,
find this
I'm, gonna,
like,
I'm gonna give you a hot take here, right? I think
what?
a problem with a lot of these companies is there's a lot of nepotism. And what I mean by that is you have to know, like a lot. I just see
Totally.
that.
Totally.
I just see this as a spectator. I see a lot of people I've worked with at other companies that all end up at one place. And it's because someone goes there and brings all their friends with them. It's just been a thing. This has been a thing forever, right? But it's all about who you know, and that's never going to
It's your
change.
tribe. Who's your
Yeah,
tribe, right? And this
yeah,
is why joining
and that
the right talent density it matters so much, because there's plenty of people that are interviewing at these companies that are qualified and can do the job. In fact, paradoxically, again, it's the easy mode job. So like so many people can do it. So how do you hire? Well, you probably hire in a way that de-risks it as much as
totally.
possible. What does that even mean? What that means is that there's somebody who's probably not even a IC, of manager and above, that says, I used to work with this person. Trust me, they are like good, and then they're well back channeled and well referenced and all that. Otherwise, if you don't have enough of that, they don't need to take the risk on you.
Totally.
So
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is hire the proven entities, but I think a lot of times too, and I don't want to like, I don't know, I don't want to. I mean, I've just seen this in my personal opinion. There's people I've worked with that I don't think are A's that get hired at some of these hot companies, and it's only because I don't know, they're friends with the hiring manager.
well, would you rather? It's the classic cliche. Would you rather be lucky or good? And it's
Yeah,
like, well, listen, you want to be good and lucky, but if you had to choose one, I mean, everybody would answer this a little bit differently, but you just want the best opportunity. If that means you get lucky a little bit, then that's what
totally.
it is. So.
I mean, you got to take advantage of it. It's unfortunately it's just the world we live in. That's just the way it is. You can't do much about it. But if you're, if you want to have the easiest path to kind of riches and success, that's what you do. That's the playbook.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Last thing we'll end with: what is the best food on Thanksgiving, and the most overrated? Give me one, like top tier and
Oh
lowest tier.
man, best food. Do you want me to go traditional, or do you want me to just like Because
I want you to say. I want you to say what's the number one thing on your mind on both sides. Yeah, you can go traditional. Totally.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, here's the thing. We're not even having turkey on this Thanksgiving. I think I told you this. We're going to like a fogo de chao for Thanksgiving this year.
Oh wow!
Uh,
No way.
oh, did I not tell you that?
No.
Yeah, we're going to. Well, they're going to this other chain. It's called Texas Day Brazil because there's no fogo de chao where we live here in San Diego. But yeah, my wife and I do not like turkey. Turkey's so overrated, in my opinion. It doesn't
White
taste good.
meat turkey is terrible. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not tasty, but the dark
Well,
meat is actually
no,
pretty good.
would you rather have dark meat or would you rather have bacon wrapped filet mignon? You tell me.
Bacon wrapped. I'll even do you one better. A little ribeye. You're probably gonna have a nice ribeye later.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
my
yeah, yeah, yeah.
go-to cut of choice. I'm not even a big filet guy, but I would
Oh,
take
interesting.
bacon wrapped filet over white meat turkey. Not even a question. Now, somebody was saying this on Twitter, like white turkey is so bad. Literally name any other time during the year that you cook it. You don't, because you
Yeah,
choose steak, you choose ham, you choose chicken, you
yeah,
choose every other type of meat. You would not actually
totally.
choose turkey
Fish.
and
Yeah.
actually cook fish, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But I'll go traditional. My favorite is probably the mashed potatoes and gravy or the cornbread.
okay,
How about you?
got it. Sausage stuffing is just,
Mm.
it's amazing
I
with
don't
at
think I've
least a
ever.
50% sausage. I mean, maybe that's how a little gabagool, a lot of Italian meats in the New Jersey area. That's probably why, I'm
Oh,
from New York. I'm from,
interesting. Yeah.
maybe that's just more of a tri-state area around New York City with a heavy Italian demographic. But sausage stuffing, I think the most overrated by far. Cranberry sauce. I don't even touch that shit whenever
Yeah.
it's like, especially in the can, dude. I'm just like, this looks so processed. And um, what's your least favorite? You said turkey. Outside of turkey, what would be like?
Uh, Sweet potato.
Okay,
I'm not a
I
sweet
want,
potato guy
I
though.
want to bait you with that. I don't
I know
like sweet
people
potato.
love. I know people love sweet potato, and I think like all the gym bros would argue with me about sweet potatoes like pretty good as a carb, I guess. But I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Um, I'm not a big. I like the Thanksgiving aspect of getting together with family. I don't care for the food that you eat on Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
We need to.
and
We need
it's
to. We need to reform Thanksgiving and have like sushi. We need to have like sushi for Thanksgiving or something like that.
yeah, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, dude, this is great. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for us building vibe scaling.
Same
And
here, brother.
yeah, I connect with us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and please send these tweets as you guys see them that you want us to riff on a little bit here. Like I said, we'll be the people's prez of people who, AEs at these companies that can't speak about this stuff. Listen, we'll have to do it in a professional way still, but we still want to make sure that we're getting some of these takes out here. So thanks for listening to, what are we calling this, Cailen? GTMPN, or this week in GTM. We're going to
Yeah.
call it that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. We got to be
uh,
original, just like with our brand, right? I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to bite off somebody else, But
fair. Well, the shout out to the TVPN guys. Definitely inspirational. Love what they're putting out there. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week, and happy Thanksgiving. Really appreciate you giving us a listen. Give us a subscribe, rating, review, follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Hope you enjoy it.